All right, guys, Dr. Al here. Today, I want to talk to you about what is chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation, basically, it's a very bad problem that happens to most of us who are in this planet. Come on, the things that usually cause chronic inflammation in humans are poor diet, are toxins, preservatives, lack of sleep, emotional stress, drinking, smoking, having sedentary lifestyles, being in toxic relationships. So those are the things that happen. And what happens is that when we do these things or ingest this type of substances, there's an immune response that will be triggered in the body, and that immune response will liberate something called cytokines, right? Cytokines. So you're gonna see here in my document, TNF alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and interleukin 6. Those there's some of these substances that the body does to, sometimes to create an inflammatory response, because an acute inflammatory response is part of healing. Is how we deal with infection. Is how we deal with an injury. We cut our skin. We undergo surgery. So acute inflammation is good, chronic inflammation is not good, right? Let's keep it that way. It's very important for us to get rid of inflammation, because the symptoms of inflammations are actually quite notable. Let me go here in my document to part two of it. So if you guys find it first than I do, please point it out to me. So let's go to part two. And here in part two, I let's go to now. These are some of the symptoms of having the chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation here is added as part of one of them, just because, look at this. Systemic inflammation is a hallmark for chronic and cell danger response. You don't need to learn that. But check this out. Chronic inflammation is associated with arthritis, cardiovascular disease, and neuroinflammation. All right. So when I say neuroinflammation, we're talking about diseases like Alzheimer, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson disease, but we also are talking about depression, anxiety, loss of focus, memory loss. So those are things that will happen in us who have metabolic inflammation. Let me see if I can get something else, because I wanted to talk to you guys about. All right, it is here. We're talking about metabolic dysfunction, and metabolic dysfunction, which is part of the chronic inflammatory response, will lead to something we call insulin resistance. And when we have insulin resistance, we get an increased abdominal fat. But not only that, we go into difficulty losing the excess weight, because there's an area of the cell we call the mitochondria, and this segment, this portion, what is a better name for the mitochondria? This organelle, right? It's one of the components of the cell, and it's a part that produces energy. When there's a lot of inflammation, she goes from manufacturing energy mode into war mode, and in war mode, it doesn't make energy as effective. So, if what makes energy is not functioning, and the way that you get energy out of food is through metabolism, that means that it will cause what we consider a metabolic dysfunction. So food will come in, nutrients will come in, and will not be used properly. So imagine this: glucose, carbohydrates come in, and the place where actually they will be burned is not functioning. Blood sugar will be increased. The glycemia, which is the blood sugar levels, will be so high that we're going to have an increased amount of insulin release, and eventually can take us to what we call um, diabetes type 2. And I mentioned this about the cognitive impairment, the memory loss, and the brain fog part of that in chronic inflammation. There's also something here that I want to go over, on the hormonal imbalances. So people with chronic inflammation, they will get fatigue, they will get weight gain, right? And reduced stress resilience, meaning that they're more prone to stress and more difficulty dealing with it. What brought me into this field of medicine was this part. It was chronic pain. I've been treating people with chronic pain for the last 20 years. 2 years ago and change, I closed the chronic pain clinic and decided to manage pain using only my alternative methods. And we don't use any medications to control it. Why? Because the only thing that I need to do is to get rid of the inflammation and then try to reset the mitochondria in order to take it from that state into a state where it becomes the energy factory again. And believe me, this doesn't happen on its own. When we get the chronic inflammation and the mitochondria goes into dysfunction, we go into disease state because we go into a low energy state. And when the cells are in a low energy state, they don't do what they're supposed to. Imagine you're home, you have no energy. Instead of going out, going to the gym and go to the party or go exercise or just go have fun or even go to work, you have no energy. Can you do it? No. Now you go to work and your work's a physical job, like the job of the cell is very physical, and you don't have the energy. How will be your performance? Will be poor. The same thing happens to the cell. There's more stuff here that I want to discuss with you guys, but the video is taking too long. We're gonna come later. We're gonna keep talking about this topic. It is my favorite topic, and to me, inflammation is a culprit of many human diseases. So, this is Dr. Ryan. I'll talk to you soon.